Hi everybody, sorry for the little bit of a delay in sound there. Welcome to my second live video. Again, my phone is like right next to my head. I actually got my phone holder today, so it's a little bit better positioning. So tonight is the Saturday night off the grid remix. I was stitching with my grandma last night, so I didn't get a chance to go live. Here I am tonight, so thanks for hanging out with me. And I'm going to be stitching here in just a minute, but I'm making sure that everything is showing up decently on my computer, because I'm going to be monitoring comments on it, since I can't actually see my phone in this hand right now. So, I gotta figure out how to get to my video here so that I can actually do what I just said and monitor my comments. No, that's not what I wanted. Go my channel. Does it have my live stream that I'm streaming right now? Yes, it does. Hooray! I have one watcher. Hi, whoever's watching. I appreciate you. Alright, ready to go now. So I've got that, and hopefully my video is not going to be too choppy. I'm going to stick my hand in it. There's a huge delay on it actually showing up, so, oh good, my video is not super choppy like I thought it was going to be. It is rather pixelated, but that's what happens when you stream from a phone, I guess, so. Alright, so we're working on Beauty and the Beast today. As you can see, it's, actually had some progress since you last saw it. I made it to the corner. This is the top corner. I'm so excited. So all I gotta do is go across the top now, and then it'll be finished. So this might actually get finished this year. I'm super excited. So I'm trying to keep my pattern kind of out of view, copyright and things like that. But I have been stitching on this purple for like, it feels like forever. I guess what I'm going to be stitching on again, the purple, because there's so much of it. It's what I stitched on last week too, now that I think about it, was this, it's called medium dull purple, and it's like 3/4 of this area. It gets up there on the top row up here, it's like 100 stitches long row of this purple, so. I'm the only one at home right now. My roommate is out doing her Saturday night thing she always does. And my husband is at a friend's college graduation party. And I was supposed to go to said graduation party because it's somebody that we work with. And I was just like, not feeling it. I felt like crap. My sleep schedule is completely backwards right now. Because I had something that I had to do early this morning for the dog rescue group, the German Shepherd rescue group I work with. And you guys will see that in my FlossTube video that I recorded this morning that is currently in the process of editing. But I ended up staying up all night. So I did my FlossTube video that I recorded this morning at like 10 o'clock. And then I went to bed. And then I only slept for like 4 hours. And then everybody and their brother kept waking me up. And I was really, really grumpy. And so I finally was like, I told everybody to just go away. And they did. And I actually got to go back to sleep and slept for a few hours. And now I'm in a much better mood. But my sleep schedule's backwards. So that'll be fun. Hello. I see a comment from Shenandoah. Thanks for joining. Hopefully I'll be entertaining. So I'm finally to the point where I can stitch now. So last week I was stitching on this, and I was stitching like this area right in here, and I somehow messed this row right here up so badly that I had to rip out like almost everything I did last week. I don't know what I did because I counted it right and it was fine. The row was the length of it was right, but it was in the wrong spot. So it was like it was bad. So I'm gonna try to not do that this time because that was quite annoying actually. I mean, it's always annoying when you have to frog out everything. So I'm gonna hopefully not have to do that again this week. I'm gonna start up here. So I'm working on getting this section of purple finished up to here. And then I've got more, these little pink flowers. There's like one here, one here, one here. And there's one right here. And it had nothing, it was just kind of out here in the middle of nowhere. And so I was trying to fill in up to it so that I had like the placement for it. Because I'm really good at messing things up when I don't have placement near it. So I wanted to have something near it so that I can do these pink flowers. Hi, Veronica. And yay, I pronounced Shenandoah's name right. So glad to have all you guys joining me. I'm trying to, like, not put my face in the frame. Hopefully I'm doing a good job of it. I'll pull my stitching a little closer. Because I have my phone on a stand that it finally came in the mail. I was supposed to have it last week. And I ordered it from Amazon Prime. And, 2-day Prime shipping. And so it was supposed to be here on Friday, and I was like, yay, I can have it in time to do my video. And then I got a message from Prime that my order was delayed. And they actually show you now, like, why it's delayed. And apparently the truck broke down. Oh, I bumped my camera. But yeah, it said that the truck broke down in New York, and I was like, oh, well, that's interesting. I didn't know they told you that now, so that was kind of... It was annoying, but it was entertaining at the same time. But now I have my phone stand. It came the following Monday with an apology note from Amazon. So I have that now. And I keep bumping into my phone cord. I have my phone plugged in because I don't... Streaming live, like, eats your battery. So I have my phone plugged in and I keep bumping the charger cable. So I'm sorry if you guys, like, get seasick from bouncing up and down. And I noted in my last live video, I don't normally two-handed stitch, but when I'm videoing, because I don't want to like pop the camera with my hand, it's actually easier for me. So I go a lot slower when I'm two-handed stitching because I actually, oops, one too far, back up. Because I actually stitch with my non-dominant hand under, so I kind of like have to search for my next spot a little bit. 1, 2, 3. Make sure I counted that right. 2, 3. I can't count quietly. I have to count out loud. It's actually a little bit annoying. So anytime I go quiet to count, I apologize. My cats are chasing each other around the house. You'll probably hear them eventually because Nermal's talking to himself. So in my FlossTube video, in my second FlossTube video, pretty much as soon as I started it, Candy was like up in my face. So if you've watched my second FlossTube video, my cat made an appearance. Well, in the one that I recorded this morning, she made another appearance because she did the same thing where she was like, I have to be in your way. Because that's what my cat does. I'm surprised she's like, she likes to try to crawl into my lap under my stitching. She thinks she's sneaky. She's very much not. Like, she'll start on the back of my chair, and then she'll kind of slowly creep down to the arm of the chair, and then she slowly creeps over to my leg, and I'm like, you know I see you coming, right? She is not sneaky. She thinks she is. My dog used to always nose underneath my... Like, I have pictures of this frame in my lap with, like, her nose sticking out underneath of it. But she has gotten lazy in her old age and spends all her time on the couch. And right now she's curled up in an adorable little puppy ball looking at me like, how dare you talk about me like that, Mom? Fuzzies. So So many fuzzies. I've been working on this piece for so long, there's like a huge amount of lint stuck to the back of it. And so it keeps getting pulled to the front. It's kind of weird, there's like little balls of fuzz stuck all over the back of it. And I keep pulling them off, and I think it's just the age of the piece. And I only cover the front of it. I throw a blanket, or right now it's actually a sweatshirt, or sometimes it's a towel over the front of it to keep like sun damage and cats and all kinds of stuff off of it. But I don't usually protect the back of it as much, because nobody's going to see the back. And so it has gotten kind of linty. I have no idea where I am right now. I'm just stitching, and then I'm like, oh, this is a humongous row. Holy cow. 32 stitches. Oh, yay, that's long. That's going to take me a while to count. I better recount what I have done, because I have no idea where I am. 16. Halfway there. Better than I thought. Alright, count for a minute. Six, almost there. I'll be able to talk to you guys again. I can't count and talk at the same time. That's how I messed up so badly last time. And I already lost count. Crap. Nine, 30. You're actually going to be able to tell what I did today just because this row is like sticking all the way out here. 31, 32. That should be 32. I'm going to double check it. Got a knot on the back. Yes, I backstitch as I go. Veronica asked if I backstitch as I go. I hate backstitching. Like, I really, really hate it. So I refuse to leave it to the end because then I would never finish the piece. So, like, the second I can backstitch, I do. So, like, if you look down here, this is all backstitched. The characters are all backstitched. Where it's rolled up down here, everything down here is backstitched. All the French knots are done. So, all I have left, I've got the flying machine over here. Maurice's flying machine is the only thing left to backstitch, and that's just because I haven't finished. There's, like, the propeller goes up here. And the sky around it, and then I can actually backstitch it. That's the only backstitching left in the entire project right now. So, I can't stand backstitching. It makes me angry. Because it's like, oh, I finished my project. No, just kidding. So, I really don't like backstitching. So, yes, I definitely do it as I go. 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 30, 31, 32, yay! Now I can turn around and go back. That is a nice long line of stitching there. I said you're actually going to be able to see my progress today, because this line of stitches just kind of sticks way off of here. And after this, I'm, I think, 5 rows from the top of the piece. And they're all big long rows like this or longer. But I figure it's easier to do these nice big long rows while I'm doing a live video, because they take a little bit less concentration. Come here. My thread's twisted up again. I'm sure you guys have noticed by now I railroad my stitches, especially on 18 count, because I'm really picky about my coverage. So it's not as noticeable with the light colors. They cover nicely, but like dark colors, like the greens especially, don't cover very well on 18 count. I'm used to stitching. I've gotten used to stitching on smaller counts now. My other pieces are on 25 and 28 over 1, so this 18 count feels humongous to me now. Every time I come back to it from stitching on my Heaven and Earth pieces, I'm like, oh, it's huge. It's like going from college ruled paper to wide ruled paper. So like, wow, these are really big. But the downside to that is I've gotten spoiled by the coverage of 2 over 1 and 25 count. And so you come back to 18, I'm like, ugh, you don't look as nice. But I'll continue stitching on 18 count. I'm not a big fan of going over 2 on linens and things like that. I know a lot of people are, like, once they get away from Aida, they don't ever go back to it. They kind of become fabric snobs. I'm not one of those people. I don't see anything wrong with Aida. It's just not my absolute favorite thing. Because I've gotten used to the smaller stitches, and I think the small stitches and the detail that they can provide, I'm sure you guys have noticed I like the kind of photorealistic almost types of projects where they look like they could be a painting rather than stitching. And the detail you can get out of, 25 count, 28 count, even 32 count. I've not tried 32 count, I'm not brave enough. I really love the detail you get out of those just tiny stitches. There's something really satisfying about it. And there's also something really satisfying about people going, oh my gosh, how do you stitch on such small fabric? I'm like, I don't know, I just do. One day, I probably won't be able to, so I'm going to do all I can. My grandma had to stop cross-stitching about 5 or 6 years ago. Her eyesight got too bad, and she cannot see even 14 and 18 count. So she does exclusively needlepoint now on the canvases, using all the specialty threads. She uses a lot of specialty threads. She uses needlepoint yarns sometimes. She does some really, really cool things with needlepoint, that's for sure. And so I'm going to enjoy my tiny cross stitches while I still can. Because I'm 32 years old, and I do wear glasses full time. I wear glasses for distance vision. I don't need them for close up yet, but I have noticed I am starting to struggle on my piece that I'm doing on navy blue fabric, and there's a lot of black stitches in it. I'm starting to struggle to see those. And that was not the case when I started that piece 2 years ago. So it is beginning. Really? My cat is on my sewing table in the pile of fleece. I don't know what she's doing. Hang on, I have to go yell at my cat because I don't know what she's doing. Hang on. Sorry. I think she's trying to destroy things, so. Get out! What are you doing? Seriously, what are you doing? Get out! Ugh. This is the face of a demon. She thinks she's innocent. She's not. So, ouch, I just hit my head on my light. So this is my cat for you. This is like the ultimate description of my cat. So, I have a big pile of fleece on my table, on my sewing table that's here in the living room. And two of the big pieces of it are for blankets that I'm going to make. And they're stacked on top of each other. So this sack of fleece is probably a good 1.5 feet tall. She had burrowed under both of the big pieces of fleece that are meant for blankets. She had burrowed completely under them to steal a piece of elastic. I don't know how she knew that piece of elastic was under there. I don't know why she decided to burrow under 2 feet of fleece. And then I couldn't get her out. She went completely limp. I had to, like, drag her out from under this fleece because she was like, no, you can't pick me up. Oh, this cat. Oh my lord, she is a demon. Like, that is just the kind of crap she does, constantly. Okay, so I'm going to mark off that row before I get lost, now that I'm back and not, oops, apparently sending my phone for a ride here. But now that I'm not chasing my cat across my house. Oh my god, she's a demon. Oh. Yeah, it's a good thing I looked at this because I didn't finish that row. Ugh. This is why I don't get much accomplished in very quickly on my pieces. Because I get, like, it's like I get distracted and then I make really stupid mistakes like this. Like, look, there's still half a row not finished over here. Dummy, go back and finish crossing that. And you'll be in the right spot. Good job. I love it when I can just, like, unstitch. That's the best kind of frogging. I don't have to unthread my needle. Oh, now she's over here on the chair next to me, looking like she's going to try to climb across the table. And every time she climbs across the table, she knocks everything off of it. So she gets yelled at for that. And then she'll try to come over onto my lap as I'm stitching. And she's knocking everything off. It's like I have a drink sitting over here on the table. She will try to knock it off. She'll knock my scissors off. She'll knock my highlighter off. She'll knock the papers that I have sitting there off. She's a demon. Little demon. I thought she would outgrow this. Like, kittens usually outgrow the demon phase. She's now about to be 8 years old. She never outgrew it. She is like the biggest terror of a cat. I've had a lot of cats. I've had 7 cats in my life. In my adult life. I was not allowed to have animals until I was an adult. I got my first cat when I was 19. And I have had 7 cats total. I have 2 now. And I've had 3 that I raised from kittens. None of them has been as big of a terror as Candy. She is, holy crap, a terror. When she was about 2 years old, she destroyed my, at the time, year-old laptop. And I mean, it was mostly my fault, because, you know, I didn't expect her to be such a demon. And I had a big cup of Mountain Dew, so I had just had Taco Bell. And I had a cup of Mountain Dew sitting on my table. And I had my laptop sitting on my table in my bedroom. And I left to go to the bathroom. And I was gone maybe like 5 minutes. And she somehow managed to dump an entire 32-ounce Mountain Dew on my laptop. And fried it. She managed, it fried the motherboard. So, RIP that laptop. So now I have learned, it took my husband, I had her before we got married. I got her about a year and a half before we got married. And it took my husband probably a year to remember not to leave drinks around where Candy could knock them over. So I know one got knocked over on a printer. Sorry, I'm going to open a drink real quick. But I know one drink got knocked over on a printer early on in our living together. Oh, I'm thirsty. Talking makes me thirsty. I'm just gonna sit here and drink my drink over here. But yeah, she's quite destructive. We're so used to her, like, the dog is afraid of my cat's name. It's actually really funny. She has a middle name. That's how often she's in trouble. Candace Marie. That's her full name. And if you say Candace Marie, the dog, like, freaks out because she thinks that I'm about to yell because I yell at the cat so often. And I try not to yell at my dog. She's a rescue, and she has pretty bad anxiety. She's very, very fearful of a lot of things. Loud noises. Loud noises terrify her. It started out, we thought it was just thunder and fireworks, like a lot of dogs. No, she's afraid of the garbage truck. She's afraid of lawnmowers. She's afraid of trash cans. She's afraid of anything that makes loud noise. Trucks driving down the street. Yeah. If it makes a loud noise, she's afraid of it. And so when I yell at my cat, it scares her. It scares the dog. So I have to be, like, really careful about it because, like, the dog will freak out when I yell at my cat. But I yell at my cat a lot because she's constantly into things, as you guys saw, and constantly being a demon. And now she's being cute and sweet. She has two modes: absolute holy terror and the sweetest cat you'll ever meet in your life. And she's so cuddly. She is so cuddly, and when she settles in, she's in for the long haul. She'll lay in your lap for hours and just purr. And when she sleeps like a toddler. She's so busy being a demon through the day that when she's out, she's out. Shenandoah said her cat eats cords. I am so grateful that none of my cats eat electrical cords. My brother and my sister-in-law have a cat that eats electrical cords. And she has eaten like 7 or 8 laptop cords. She eats phone chargers. She eats headphones. And it's same thing. They tried everything. They tried hot sauce. They tried lemon juice. They tried bitter apple. None of it works. She still eats them. So Candy eats... she's obsessed with ribbons and anything shaped like a ribbon. She doesn't eat shoelaces. I had my cat Orion, that I lost last March. He was my oldest cat. Oops. I somehow split a thread on that. Orion he would chew on shoelaces. So, like, you'd go to tie your shoes and the shoelaces would be wet, and you're like, ah, Orion. But he never chewed through them. Whereas Candy, if you leave something out that has a ribbon on it, she will chew it in half. I'm sure you guys have noticed I'm pretty crafty. I make a lot of stuff. And I have a huge ribbon collection. And I make a lot of things like hair bows and hair accessories. And I have to keep Candy out of my craft room when I am doing that because she will eat my ribbon as I am actively using it. I'll go to use it and there's a cat attached to the other end and I'm like, excuse me. So I was making a grime guard the other day, and that's why there's elastic on my craft table right now. I was making grime guards, and I was literally threading the elastic through, and I had cut it to length, and put a safety pin on the other end so that it wouldn't pull through. And I was pulling the elastic through the sleeve in the grime guard, and I was like, why is this not... Oh, because there's a cat attached to the other end. This Candy was eating it. I'm like, really? Get off. There's no peace in this house when Candy is on a terror streak. The dog is afraid of her. Not just because she gets yelled at a lot, but no, my dog is actually legitimately terrified of my cats. And, keeping in mind that I have a German Shepherd. She is a 72-pound white German Shepherd who is currently licking the couch, and I don't know why she does that. And she's terrified of my cats. Absolutely terrified of them. Shenandoah said her cat's not allowed in her craft room because the sewing machine cord's the only one she hasn't managed to get a hold of. Yeah, my cats are not allowed in my craft room because they get into everything. Because Candy gets into my ribbons. And then she goes mountain climbing, because my craft room's a disaster. All my fabric and stuff is just, like, piled up. Which is why I used my dining room table as my craft table, because I can't get to my actual craft table. And if I let them in there, it's constantly, Candy, get out of here! Candy, stop that! Candy, knock it off! So, thankfully she doesn't chew the cord, but God, she makes a mess otherwise. She'll knock all my fabric down. She'll get under it, get in things, get in the closet. She likes tulle. That's another thing she'll chew on. She'll pull, like, I have, like, bolts of tulle for making, like, petticoats and stuff. And she'll try to, like, unravel that and chew on it. Like, stop it. She's usually pretty good about my cross stitch, mainly because I've kicked her off my lap so many times. Like, sometimes I will let her lay in my lap while I stitch. She likes to lay on top of my stitching if I leave it unattended for any period of time. She just makes it her bed. Which isn't, I don't know, I think it's funny. I don't think it's that big of a deal. Like, if I get up to go to the bathroom and I leave my frame, like, laying on my chair, I'll come back and Candy will have curled up in it. If you ever look closely at my YouTube channel icon, like the little picture of me that it shows as the icon, that is, I think that's Nermal in my face. I can't remember if that's Nermal or Candy. They look a lot alike. They're both brown tabbies. But they both love to lay on my chest. And Nermal started that. And he's got a story behind that. But so they'll wiggle in between me and my stitching and go, Mom, I'm more important. Excuse me. And so that is a picture of one of my cats on my chest while I was trying to stitch. Shenandoah said her cat shredded her wedding veil as she was making it the day before the wedding. That sounds like something my cat would do. Oh my gosh, she was in everything when I was getting ready for my wedding. Because I made my own invitations and a lot of stuff. And yes, she was in everything. I did not make my own veil. I did buy that, but she would have shredded it given the chance. There would be little kitty holes in it. How far am I supposed to go? 3 stitches. I didn't have to count this one because it was 3 stitches past the last one. I don't have to count that because that was like 40. This one's 48 stitches long. That's a long row. I'm not going to make it back. This will not be a successful game of thread chicken. So I was mentioning Nermal likes to lay on my chest, and that there's a story behind that. So Nermal is, let's see, he will be 12 in June. Nermal, his birthday, he's a rescue. All of my animals are rescues, so I don't have exact birthdays on any of them. But Nermal was the youngest kitten that I have had. So we knew within a week, based on his development when we found him. We knew within a week of when he was born. And he was born the first week of June, 2006. And he was such a holy terror as a kitten that we decided that he had to have been born on the 6th of June. So his birthday is 6606. And the appropriateness of it continues to this day, even though he's old and fat now. But I call him my miracle cat. My ex-mother-in-law found him. I got married young and dumb. I was only married for 2.5 years, so. But my ex-mother-in-law found him when I lived in Memphis. And she lived out in the country in Tennessee. And she found this cat up a tree. And she tried for 3 days to get this kitten, little tiny kitten, out of the tree. And when she finally got him down, he was, the vet estimated, I think, 5 weeks old. And, you know, not old enough to be away from his mother. Really not old enough to be away from his mother. And he basically fell out of this tree. So he shouldn't have survived the fall, for one. And then she took him to the vet. And he was covered in fleas, and he had parasites, and he had ear mites, and he was starved and dehydrated. And the vet basically said it would be, you know, better to, you know, he's not going to live. Do you want me to put him down? And she said, no, I don't, you know, it's unfair for this tiny little kitten to have never known love in his life. So she took him home, and she figured, you know, for a few days until he got to the point that it was really time, she was going to just love him and show him that love existed. So she would sit in front of her computer every night and hold this tiny little, about, you know, 1 pound, maybe 2 pound kitten on her shoulder while she played on her computer every night. And she treated him for his fleas, and she treated him for the worms, and she treated him for the parasites, and she, you know, gave him kitten food laced with, you know, formula and stuff like that. And after a week, it was pretty clear he was going to survive. So he beat the odds. And she had him then for another month or so. I think it was about a month and a half that she had him. I have to tie off this thread soon. She had him for about another month and a half. And he started kind of perking into his kitten self and being a terror. And her other cats hated him and were, like, determined to kill him. So she calls me one day. Do you want a kitten? And at this time, I had my older cat, Orion. He was the only cat I had at the time. And I was 20. I think I had just turned 21. Yeah, I had just turned 21. And so I'd had Orion for about 2 years. And I was like, yeah, never had a kitten before. I'd love to have a kitten. So I bring little 3-month-old Nermal home. He then promptly terrorizes my 110-pound German Shepherd. Because I have this thing for apparently having German Shepherds that are afraid of cats. So he terrorizes my German Shepherd. He terrorizes Orion. He terrorizes the house. He terrorizes me. He terrorizes everything he possibly can. But when he wants to sleep, when he wants cuddles, he wants on my shoulder. He particularly wants on my chest. Nermal is now 11 and a half years old and weighs about 15 pounds. He still sleeps on my chest. He wants on my chest, in my face. He never outgrew this. So Nermal is still, I'm pretty sure that's Nermal that's in my profile picture. That's in my face, because that's what Nermal does, is lays in my face. But he is the miracle kitten, and he grew and he thrived and destroyed everything. I joke that he was going to be the reason I didn't get my security deposit back on my apartment. I miraculously did, mainly because I paid to replace the blinds that he shredded. The day he shredded them, he managed to get himself tangled up in a cord in the blinds, and I woke up to my cat hanging by a paw from my blinds. That was one of the more terrifying mornings of my life. Thankfully, he wasn't hurt, but... Oops, I bumped my camera again. Sorry. But he shaved a couple years off my life that morning, I'm pretty sure. And we had to buy a different bed frame, because the one that we had, he could get his paws, it had like slats on the end, and he could get his paws between it, and he thought that feet had to die. And I got really tired of waking up with my feet bleeding in the middle of the night. And I woke up with a kitten hanging from my curtains 5 feet from the ground one time. And he had an obsession with knocking phones off. So he broke several of my cell phones back in the mid-2000s when they were not, they didn't have things like otter boxes and things like that. Yeah, he broke a couple of my phones. He never destroyed my laptop, though. That was Candy. Candy's the only one that's managed that. But, yeah, Nermal was, holy crap, he was a demon. He used to torment Orion. And it was so funny because Orion wouldn't put up with the crap. And Orion outweighed him by a good, 15 pounds. Because he was a big boy. And so Orion would get tired of him and just lay on top of him. And so this little kitten would be squirming under him. And you just hear this crying of, oh my god, he's squishing me. And you can still get Nermal to make that noise if you hug him. He will make this horrible, sounds like you're breaking him noise. And that's his "you're squishing me" noise. And it's really funny. And we do it to him all the time just because it's so funny. And the funniest thing about Nermal, which I'm sure you've noticed, you haven't seen him on camera. He's the only one of my animals you have not seen on camera yet. Nermal, for all his demon ways, and I say he has the biggest personality of any cat I've ever met, is terrified of people. He is the invisible cat as soon as there's somebody in the house. Or if he thinks there's somebody in the house. And I think with me talking to myself, basically, he's freaked out and hiding. So it's kind of funny. It's very unexpected that he's a giant scaredy cat when it comes to people. Because I didn't expect that until I'd had him probably 6 months. And somebody came, maintenance or somebody came to the house. And I was like, where is Nermal? He was hiding in a cabinet. He had opened a cabinet and was hiding in it. I'm like, okay. Unexpected. And so now he hides either in the closet or under the covers in the bed. Anytime there's people here. Oh, I didn't finish telling the story about Orion. And the funniest thing that Orion ever did to this cat. Orion could open doors. He could open doors and open drawers. But he could open cabinet doors. He could open regular doorknobs. He was quite talented with his paws. And I would come home from work, and I knew that Nermal had been tormenting him because Orion would be in one of my kitchen cabinets asleep. And it was always a game in Orion's life. Where the heck is Orion? Oh, he's probably in a cabinet. And so there was one day that I came home, and Orion was sleeping in my recliner. I'm like, Orion is not normally sleeping. Where's Nermal? I don't see my kitten. And so, I'm tearing apart this house trying to find my kitten. Because I figured he'd gotten himself stuck somewhere, because this was not the first time he would have done that. And I could hear this, pawing noise coming from a bathroom cabinet. The kind of cabinets that, the cabinets under, the kitchen and the bathroom, those kind of cabinets that you kind of, have to grab the edge and pull. Nermal has never opened one of those in his life. Ever. That was always Orion's trick. So I came home to find my, at the time, 4-month-old kitten in the bathroom cabinet. And I swear, I think Orion opened the cabinet and talked Nermal into it and then shut him inside it. And it was really, really funny. Because Nermal never, still to this day, has never opened one of those bathroom cabinets. He has never done it. He can open the slide-in closet door. But he cannot open cabinets. So I know that Orion did that. And so Orion couldn't stand him to start with, but they grew to be really, really close. They were best friends. They were brothers. So when I lost Orion last March, Nermal definitely mourned him. So that was kind of sad. But now Nermal and Candy are pretty close. They're the only 2 kitties I have now. I had 5 at one point. It was way too many cats. It was like the definition of the crazy cat lady. I've spent this entire video talking about my cats. That should tell you something. 2, 3, 4. That's crazy cat lady status achieved. supposed to be getting a third cat here soon. I'm adopting one of my friend's parents' cats. Her parents passed away a couple years ago. She's been taking care of their cats. It's getting to be too many cats for her, so I'm taking one off her hands. He just hasn't been integrated into the house yet. Okay, mark off that row. I'm sorry if I butcher your name, but Nenny, I believe. Hello, thank you. She said it's beautiful work. I'm very proud of this piece. I'm proud of all this right here. That's all Krynic blending filament. I hate Krynic. Makes me angry. Well, blending filament. I don't mind working with braid. I actually really do not mind. There's fuzz stuck right here. I really do not mind working with Krynic braid at all. But man, the blending filament makes me angry. This is why I think this is why I jumped into the Heaven and Earth, like, the stitching community, like, head first, because there's no back stitching, which I hate. There's no fractionals, which I hate. There's no blended needle, which I hate. And there's no blending filament, which I hate. So, like, all the stuff that I don't like. They don't have it. 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Hey, look, this is a little short row. Yay. Sorry, I can't talk and count at the same time. Okay. It's so quiet in my house right now. I'm not used to it. The cat's not up to something. The dog's not up to something. I don't know where Nermal is. No, he ran off. I had to fish Candy out of my pile of fleece. He had been chasing her. I haven't seen him since. He probably went to go sleep on my bed. We don't let the cats sleep with us at night because they keep us up, because Candy likes to walk on my head. And Nermal likes to, be in my face. So anytime that I'm not in bed, they're like, quick, steal the bed, it's comfy. They also love my recliner that I'm sitting in. I pretty much constantly, if I want to sit down, I have to get Candy out. What the heck here? There we go. And the couch might as well be the dog's. If there's people on the couch, she doesn't know what to do. She, like, paces the room going, but my couch. But my couch. I don't know what to do. My couch. Our animals are so spoiled. I mean, my dog has an $80 orthopedic bed for her crate. That tells you how spoiled my dog is. She also has steps. She's old. She's 11. She has a condition called degenerative myopathy. Myelopathy, I can't say it. Also called degenerative nerve disease. It's basically the dog equivalent of ALS, or Lou Gehrig's disease, where she's losing her control of the nerves in her back end. And so sometimes she can't get her feet under her, and you have to help her stand up. And so she has a hard time. She's starting to struggle getting on the couch. So sometimes I have to pick her up and put her on the couch, but she can't jump onto the bed anymore. Because we have a fairly high platform bed. And she can't get up there anymore, so we got little doggy steps for her. She appreciates that, so she can come cuddle in the bed with us. But she doesn't stay up there long because she doesn't feel comfortable getting off the bed by herself anymore. So she'll only come up there if she knows one of us can lift her down onto the ground. Because her legs don't always support her when she tries to jump off of it anymore. But she doesn't seem to let it affect her quality of life. She sleeps a lot more now than she used to. She's old. She's getting old. But she is one of the reasons that I am such a big advocate of dog rescue. And especially, I'm especially a big advocate against irresponsible breeding. Because she is such a good example of irresponsible breeding. And by irresponsible breeding, I mean people who go, oh, look, I have a purebred German Shepherd. Let me breed it with your purebred German Shepherd and we can sell the puppies for $300. That is how dogs like mine come to be. DM is a genetic disease. And so it can be predicted. There are genetic markers that you can trace. And so many people just go, oh, well, my dog, is AKC registered or CKC registered. And they just breed it without realizing that they're passing down all these negative traits. And just because you have a dog that's purebred doesn't mean you should breed it. And that's why there are so many German Shepherds now that develop DM. There's so many German Shepherds that develop hip dysplasia and elbow dysplasia. And things like skin allergies and food allergies are so common. And it's irresponsible breeding. It's people who they don't understand that you should only breed dogs with traits that you want passed to the next generation. And so that's something that I'm kind of outspoken about, is just because you have a dog that can breed doesn't mean you should breed it. And that's how so many purebred dogs end up in shelters. And purebred dogs end up with, massive health problems that could be prevented. And that's something that I know that I took on, adopting a rescue dog, was I took on unknown parentage and unknown health history. And, I mean, she has skin allergies. She has food allergies. She started developing hip dysplasia early on. She's only 11, and she started developing hip dysplasia and arthritis early on. And it's really sad. She came from an area where backyard breeding is a huge thing in East Tennessee because everybody's in it for the quick buck. I'm going to breed these 2 dogs. I'm not going to take care of any of them. I'm just going to sell the puppies. She has been bred. She has had puppies. And she lived on somebody's chain. On a chain in somebody's yard for 5 years. That's not owning a dog. That's not taking care of a dog. They're not lawn ornaments. So there's my soapbox. I'll get off of it now. But I love my girl. I love my girl with all my heart. I'm sad that my time with her is going to be too short. She was 5 years old when I adopted her. 7 years old when I adopted her. So I knew that my time with her was going to be short, but it's going to be even shorter now because of, she has this terrible degenerative condition. Yeah, Shenandoah said that her dog had DM, and they had to put him down because he couldn't stand up, and that's what happens, and it's so heartbreaking. And I feel like she'll tell us when it's time. Right now, it's not degrading the quality of her life, but it will. I know it will. And I know I'm going to have to let her go early, and it's heartbreaking. Because I love her so much. I'm in a weird spot here in this corner here. I gotta figure out now. I've got to get back over here. I'm really picky about my backs, so I don't tend to draw my threads across. I don't drag my threads across big open areas. I'll tuck them under other threads. I flip my work a lot, which I know a lot of people are able to work completely from the front. I can't. Like even doing pin stitches. Oh, my shoulder's getting stiff. I gotta stretch. Even doing pin stitches. I still end up flipping my work a lot. And I try to not do it as much when I'm working on one of my Heaven and Earth projects. I make a conscious effort not to flip my work because I'm working on 36-inch wide scroll frames and they are like really large and cumbersome and awkward to flip and things like that. So got a lot done. Wow. All my scrap thread came with my highlighter. Look at all that. Oh, it's pretty. Somebody asked me in one of my other videos about my copy of this pattern and whether I would sell it when I was finished. When I'm working from a kit, I do not make a working copy because my thing with kits is I feel like the pattern, I don't know for sure what the copyright law on that is, where if you can resell a hard copy pattern from a kit, but I feel like if it's in a kit, it was meant to be stitched once in that kit. So I do not make working copies. This is an original copy of this pattern. So I will not be selling this pattern. Unfortunately, this is an out of print kit now. You can see I've gone back to the one-handed stitching style that's more comfortable for me because my shoulder was cramping from having my left hand under my stitching. That being said, this being an out of print pattern, check eBay. People like me who have ridiculous amounts of stash may have bought more than one of this pattern. I have a second copy of this kit, a full unopened second copy. Well, I say unopened. I actually had to get into the kit because I damaged from folding and unfolding. This was actually part, like you can see where it's broken off down here in the corner. This was part of a 4-piece pattern and it has broken from its other pieces because I was folding it and unfolding it so often. And so it had damaged where the corner of those 4 had met and I could not read the symbol there. And so I actually had to get into the unopened kit that I have and pull the pattern out and run a copy of it so that I could see the symbols that were there in that crease where it had worn a hole in it basically and I couldn't read the symbols. But I put that back in it, and other than that, that kit is completely untouched and unopened. I may be selling that on eBay eventually. I also have a second copy of the Sleeping Beauty kit. I picked those up when Hobby Lobby stopped carrying US made kits. I don't know if you guys have been into the cross stitch section at Hobby Lobby anymore. Everything they carry is Russian made now, I believe. The few US kits that they carry, the quality on them is such garbage. I bought one shortly after they switched to the new kit maker. And the thread, I get maybe 10 stitches out of it and it shreds. And it's like embarrassingly bad. It's like, it's not even workable. I'm going to have to start it over with substituting in DMC thread because the thread is such low quality. So I don't buy stitching supplies from Hobby Lobby anymore, except for occasionally I will buy, they sell a piece of 28 count even weave that is big enough to work Heaven and Earth designs on. And so I will sometimes go in there to get a piece of fabric. But other than that, I don't buy cross-stitch supplies from Hobby Lobby anymore. I buy them from Joann's or online. Like I've got an order coming from an Etsy seller right now for DMC floss because my Joann's, none of my local Joann's have the new colors yet. And I need the new colors for a project I'm kitting up that calls for 12 of them. And they're on back order from DMC. So I found an Etsy seller that sells DMC floss. And messaged her and said, hey, do you have the new colors? And she said, I sure do. And I said, oh, good. Can you get me these? And she said, I sure can. So those will be on their way soon. But unfortunately, the only needlework shop, we'll call them an LNS, a local needlework shop. The only needlework shop left in the Dayton area doesn't carry, she doesn't carry the DMC threads in store, generally. It's just not, it doesn't make financial sense for her to stock them because not many people buy them. So she mostly carries patterns and kits and fabric. And I do get fabric from her. She carries a lot of the cool, like, hand dyeds, stuff like that. So I buy fabric from her on occasion. 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 12. Ooh, no, don't come unthreaded. I've gotten a lot of progress done. We're at just over an hour on this video. And I mean, look at all that progress I made. This is 2 threads worth of work that I've put in here now. I actually did my nails today. Oh, I think, did I do them today? Yeah, I did them early this morning, like overnight. While I was staying up all night. Like I mentioned earlier, I didn't sleep. I didn't fall asleep until like 11 o'clock this morning. Thread chicken. If you guys don't know what thread chicken is, it's when you're not sure you quite have enough to make it to your ending point. And like, I only consider it thread chicken when it's not gonna be like midway through a row where I can easily change, because I've got like 4 or 5 more rows. Like the last one wasn't a big deal, but this is the last section of this area before I would have to stop the thread and restart it in a new area. This is definitely thread chicken. Can I get to the end? I think I'm gonna make it. I think it's gonna make it just fine. But I've had some games of thread chicken where I'm like unthreading and rethreading the needle each time. That's how close I am to the end of it. And I'm really stubborn. And I'm like, I have 3 stitches left. I will make it. Yay. Oh, I had plenty of thread left. Look at that. Okay. I had to move my needle minder. I had it over here, but it was like pulling my fabric out of my tape and messing up my tension, so I had to move it to the other side. So now, like, it's all awkward. Oh well. Such a life. I made a new needle minder for this piece, actually. I'll bring it over here so you can see it. It matches my piece. It's Beauty and the Beast. So I started making needle minders last week, and I'm going to start selling those on my Etsy store that I haven't set up yet. So don't get too excited. I have to figure out how to start a second store. Right now my Etsy store, the Etsy store that I have, I sell prints of my photography. I don't know if you guys watched my last video where I was talking about that I'm a photographer. But I sell prints of some of my favorite photos that I've taken in my Etsy store, which is Katie Liz Photo. Come on, there we go. I'm working with a size 24 needle, which is way bigger than I'm used to working with. I usually work with a 26. So, yeah, I had plenty of thread left over. Look at that. Ignore my messy floor. Yay. Now I gotta figure out where to go next. I still have so much of this purple to do. My feet are, like, falling asleep. I'm sitting here cross-legged. I also made some other needle minders. I'll show you. I have a Once Upon a Time one. And I have Gar from Invader Zim. They're so cute. And I made a Marie one that I gave to my sister. It's over on her stitching, which is across the room, and I'm not gonna go get it, but. More purple! So much more purple. Like, look at how much of this purple thread I still have left. So much purple. And then I've got to go back in and fill in all this, but it's easier, like, I feel like it's easier when you do these big chunks of colors like this, and then you actually have a place to fill in. It makes the filling in way easier, because you have, like, you don't have to count every single one, and you're less likely to make mistakes, because you're just kind of filling in. You have a reference point. So I don't mind doing these big sections of purple, and then filling in the gaps, because, like, all of this up here is green. So I'll fill in the green when I'm not doing a video. So it'll be a lot of color changes, and it gets kind of boring watching somebody unthread and rethread a needle. So I try to do more solid color areas when I'm doing a video. I'm a licker. I lick my thread. I do the thing you're not supposed to do. I don't care. It's my thread. I want to do whatever I want with it. Let's see. That's going to be an awkward place to start. So I'm not going to start there. Look at here. I gotta figure out where I'm going with this thread. Because there's not... I can do it over here. There we go. Trying to find a spot that doesn't require, like, massive amounts of counting to find its starting spot. Because I always recount things like 5 times because I'm so afraid of messing it up. Ah, I lost my loop on the back. There we go. I do all kinds of things you're not supposed to do with thread. I loop start. I like it. Whatever. It's my thread. My piece. I can do what I want. My shoulder gets really tired working in this corner. So I will be happy when it's done. Does anybody else do this, like, working multiple rows at a time? I don't know, my grandma taught me how to do this. Where, like, you can work backwards on a row and kind of fill it in. Oops, dropped my needle. There is, I don't know if it's cat hair or dog hair. Some variety of animal hair. There's so many of those. It's like, it's a losing battle. I have a German Shepherd and cats. I mean, it's always a losing battle with cat hair or with pet hair in my house. Heidi's looking insulted at me. It's actually kind of funny. She's like, what do you mean, Mom? I don't shed all over your house. I don't know what you're talking about. When I brush her, it looks like a snowstorm happened. I have to brush her outside because I broke our vacuum one time when I brushed her inside because there's so much fur. Their nickname is German Shedders. People don't realize that German Shepherds shed as much as a husky. They are double-coated dogs, and they shed like mad. And they have fairly long hair, so it is everywhere. And she's white, so it's sticks to everything dark. Everything I own that is black. Shenandoah said her mom used to say it's time to go cotton picking when the German Shepherds start shedding, when they start blowing their coat. Yeah, that's in the spring. It's really, really bad. Like Heidi will start blowing her coat and there's just like huge tufts of fur. You can just walk around and like pull chunks out of her. And people are like, when's the last time you brushed your dog? And I'll be like, this morning. When she's blowing her coat, you have to brush her every day. But I have a friend who has Great Danes, and she used to ask me that all the time. She's like, "When's the last time you brushed Heidi?" And I was literally like, 3 hours ago. She was like, "Oh, never mind." Because Danes shed too. People don't realize that Danes, you know, they have they're thin coated. They've got really like kind of wiry fur. They shed too, and their fur clings to everything. But they don't shed in the big tufts like shepherds do. Shepherds form tumbleweeds of fur. And it's pretty funny. Because it really does. Like, I have pictures of my backyard after brushing Heidi in the spring, and it literally looks like it snowed in my backyard because there's so much fur. And then I kind of feel bad for my neighbors because, like, the wind will pick it up and blow it into their yard. And I'm like, sorry, guys. Now your backyard snowed too. Just what you always wanted. That's why I keep short coat dogs now. My son, when he was a baby, would grab tufts of Brutus's fur and eat it. I can totally see that. Heidi will, like, she'll eat her own fur. Like, when you're brushing her, and you're like, stop it! Quit eating your fur. And she looks so insulted. Like, when you brush her and you're pulling off big chunks of her fur, like, Mom, what are you doing? That's mine. Or she'll lay down in it. That's my favorite. Is like, I'll finish brushing her, like, I'll use the Furminator on her. And I'll have just gotten all this dead fur off of her, and then she lays down in the pile of it. I'm like, really? She's fun, though. Like I said, I love her dear. Love her to pieces. She's the second German Shepherd I've had. She's the first white Shepherd I've had, though. My first German Shepherd was black and tan. Her name was Latisha. Lost her to old age when she was about 13. She was just the best dog ever. Wouldn't hurt a fly. She looked terrified. People were terrified of her. My ex is a cop, and he would come home from work, and, like, we lived in kind of a rough neighborhood in Memphis, and he would come home from work and walk her while still in police uniform. And so people thought we had a police dog. Nobody messed with us. Nobody messed with us. Our apartment was like the only one that didn't get broken into when we lived there. It was kind of funny. But she was like the gentlest soul. She loved kids. She loved other animals. She didn't care how big or small a dog was. She played with my mom's min pin. She wore out my mom's min pin, playing with him in the backyard. She loved babies. She loved kittens. She was terrified of Nermal. Nermal used to beat her up. He'd claw her across the face, and she'd be like, "Oh, man." She'd come pout to me, "Mom, he's being mean." She was a rescue also. She was found on the side of the highway. We looked and looked and looked and looked and looked for her owners, because she was clearly well bred. She was trained. She had been fixed already. She'd been raised well, and it didn't seem right that she would have been abandoned. And what we honestly think is that she was a trucker's dog, because you open a car door, she'd jump right in it. She loved being in the car. She loved going for long car rides. And we really think that she was a truck driver's dog. And they either didn't know where she lost her, or weren't able to see any of the advertisements we put out. Because we were like, there's no way that she's not somebody's dog. She was about 10 months old when we found her. Such a sweet girl. Such a sweet girl. She was the dog that made me fall in love with German Shepherds. It was always so funny when I would walk her, and like, I'd take her to the pet store, and it was so funny, like, I'd go to PetSmart, and I'd be walking her down an aisle, and somebody would, like, turn down the aisle, see her, and just turn around and go the other way, and I'm like, what? She's a German Shepherd. She's not going to eat you. Heidi, on the other hand, that's like the one downside is, like I said, she's really fearful. She's what's considered fear reactive. If she gets into a position that she's scared of, she'll get snappy. She's not a biter. She's never bit anyone, but she'll snap at people. Just kind of a hey, stop it, get away from me. And so I don't take her places like, pet stores and dog parks and stuff like that, because they're a really bad environment for her, because of her fear anxiety. But everyone sees this beautiful white dog, and she's beautiful. She really is. And people say that all the time. "Oh my gosh, your dog is so beautiful." And I'm like, yes, and she will snap at you, so please don't reach for her. Whereas Tasha, who would never have heard a fly, everybody was terrified of. And it's a little frustrating that, like, people were so scared. They don't recognize Heidi as a German Shepherd. I get that all the time. "What kind of dog is she?" And they're like, "Oh, I didn't know German Shepherds could be white." I'm like, German Shepherds can actually come in like 9 different colors. They're not just black and tan. She is purebred. She was turned into the shelter with AKC papers. So she is a purebred German Shepherd. But yeah, it's kind of a little frustrating, because people just assume it's okay to just walk up to my dog and start petting her, and I'm like, can you not? Oh, another big row. Wasn't paying attention and just started stitching. So now I actually have to count. I go through highlighters like they're only out of style. I go through so many highlighters. I started a discussion in my comments about dogs. Yay! And again, I apologize if I mess up your name, Nenny or Nini. Let me know which one it is. I agree, pit bulls are adorable. I think they have the cutest faces. 9 home. Sorry for the, like, radio silence here, guys. I actually got to a point where I have to count. Like, ugh, what the heck? Yeah, by the way, for anyone who doesn't realize this, I'm reading out the comments, because on Facebook Live, as you're rewatching the video later, the comments pop up at the same time mark in the video as they were made, whereas YouTube doesn't do that. So I'm reading out the comments people make so the people watching this later know what the conversation is. Shenandoah is talking about how she's had fearful dogs before, and it is hard. You want to make them feel safe, and nothing does. And I think that's the hardest part for me is in the springs with Heidi, when we get thunderstorms really badly every day, because she's so scared, just overwhelmingly terrified. She shakes so hard, and it's heartbreaking. And we have tried thunder shirts, we have tried anti-anxiety medicine, we have tried the soothing, like I think it's a Kai berry, soothing treats. We've tried the diffuser with the pheromones in it for her crate. We have tried everything for her. There's nothing that helps. Nothing has made a difference at all. She is still so terrified of storms. And so the best thing that we can do is just get her in her crate before it starts storming. And then just let her ride it out. If we don't get her in her crate before the storm gets here, she will actually pee on the floor, because she's so scared. There was one time that a storm snuck up on me. I was asleep, and I was at home alone with Heidi. It was probably about like 9 a.m., so my husband had already left for work. And the thunder, the first clap of thunder was so loud, it scared me awake and scared Heidi awake. And she went running into our bathroom, and she usually won't go in our bathroom because she doesn't feel confident on the tile floor. She kind of slip and slides on it, so she won't go in anywhere that has a tile floor. She went running into the bathroom, then realized that she was in the bathroom, felt like she was trapped, turned around, skidded, lost her balance, and then just peed on the floor. And she just had this look on her face like, Mom, I don't know what to do. And I carried her to her crate because she was just so scared and so overwhelmed. And it's heartbreaking because there's just nothing I can do. I can try holding her, I've tried that before, just hugging her and holding her and reminding her I'm here, she's safe. It doesn't help. There's nothing helps her. So every spring, from about March to May, it's like, what do I do? Then he says that her boss of her house is her little chihuahua. Nermal is the boss of my house. He has been since he was a 3-pound kitten. The dog has never been in charge of the house, that's for sure. And wow, from Costa Rica, very cool. Here I live in boring Ohio. Like, I love seeing where other people are from, and I'm always like, I live in Ohio. Who comes to Ohio? I've lived in some pretty cool places. I used to live near the Smoky Mountains. I lived there for 3 years, lived in Sevierville, Tennessee. And I've lived in Orlando, Florida. I worked at Universal Studios. So, I mean, I've been to pretty cool places, but actually my husband and I have talked at length. I kind of have a dream of living in another country. I think it would be so cool to experience that, to experience living in another country from the one that I was born in. I have not traveled outside the U.S. very much. I've been to the Caribbean. We went to the Bahamas. That is the only time I have been out of the country in my adult life. I went to Canada as a child. I don't remember it. I was only 3. So, like, I really want to experience life outside the U.S. And my husband is a teacher. For those that didn't see that in any of my previous videos, he teaches earth space science, high school earth space science. And so we have actually talked about living in another English-speaking country. The one that we've talked about the most is Australia. Because you really can't get any further away than Australia and still be on the same planet. So we thought that would be really cool. I would love to live in England. My dream job is actually in London, so I would really love to live in England. She knows that her cat, who's 8 pounds, rules the house. She hits the dog on the nose till they lay down. Yeah, that's when I brought Heidi home. The first day that I had her, Orion had been exposed to a dog before. Orion and Nermal both had been around Tasha. Tasha went with my ex, by the way, when we split up, so I did not have her up until she passed. I only had her for a few years. But they had been around Tasha a while back, so they knew they had experienced dogs. But the first time that I brought Heidi home, Candy and Orion teamed up against this poor dog. Candy, who'd never seen a dog before, was like, "What did you just bring in my house?" And I have the picture of her doing the perfect kitty arched back and hissing at her. So Candy was on a chair in the kitchen when Heidi first went in the kitchen. And she launched off of this chair onto my dog's back. And as she was doing that, Orion, who at the time was like 10 years old, jumped from under the table onto her face. And this poor dog is like, what is going on? So she's been afraid of the cats ever since. Like, Nermal will come up and rub on her and, like, give her head bonks, and she just looks at me with this look of absolute terror, like, what's it gonna do to me? It's gonna eat me. There was a period of time where Heidi was having some really bad skin issues, and she had been chewing on herself. So we put, like, a little t-shirt on her. And she was laying on the couch one time. And I think Nermal thought it was a blanket. And so he crawls up and lays down on top of her. And then he gives me this look like, this is a trap. Because he didn't realize that was a dog under that fabric. It was the funniest thing ever. But thankfully, the skin issues were resolved. We discovered that what it was is most dogs, when they are exposed to fleas, if they have, like, you know, you put flea drops on them and it kills the fleas and it's no big deal. Well, Heidi is so allergic to flea bites that in order for those drops to work, the flea has to bite them. And usually it's one bite, whatever, it's gone. They you know, they'll itch at it, but that's it. Whereas Heidi is so allergic that the one bite, she would sit there and chew on it until she was bleeding. Because it was so bad, and she would chew off her fur, even with flea drops, even though she had no fleas on her, just from, we used to go walking in the woods and stuff, and I had what I called Hulk fleas in my yard. And I think it was because my neighbors had a dog that they let roam the neighborhood, and it kept bringing them back. Every time I'd kill the fleas in my yard, he'd bring the dog would bring them back. I tried yard sprays. I tried yard powders. I tried everything. I could not kill these stupid fleas. I had Hulk fleas. And so we finally found out that the Seresto collars actually repel the fleas without them biting her. So we had to use that, and that actually took care of that issue. So the fleas don't actually bite her anymore. And we also moved. So no more Hulk fleas. Yay, bye. No more dogs roaming my neighborhood. That was one of the most annoying things. Like, the neighborhood that I lived in, people thought it was totally okay to just like let their dogs out to roam the neighborhood. It's totally a thing. I lived in town, so it's not like we lived out in the country. No, we lived like in Sevierville. Like, we're a couple blocks from downtown. But like the street that I lived on was like the edge of the neighborhood, and just past our street was the country. There was a big pasture and a field, and beyond that was a cow pasture and things like that. And so people would just let their animals roam. And let me tell you what a joy that is when you have a dog that's terrified of other dogs, that's fear reactive, and a flea issue, and she's scared of everything. And there were times that I had to like put her in her crate because I couldn't let her outside. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I know you have to go to the bathroom, and I'm gonna have to put you in your crate because otherwise you're gonna pee on my floor, but I can't let you out. Because the neighbor's dog is out roaming. So I don't miss that. Don't miss that at all. I do kind of miss living in the Smokies. I miss having the Smoky Mountains nearby. There's a lot I don't miss. People always ask why we left Sevierville. Because so many people were like, oh, I love visiting Gatlinburg and I love visiting Pigeon Forge. Why would you ever leave there? It is not all it's cracked up to be, let me tell you. It's a tourism-driven economy. And so in January and February, there's no jobs. None. Everybody's jobs laid them off. And professional jobs are... It's a good old boy society. It's all about who you know, what your last name is. And my husband, with, at the time, I think it was 5 years of teaching experience. He's now up to 8 or 9. Couldn't get a job. He applied for over 100 jobs. 100 teaching jobs over the span of 2 years. He got, I think, 2 interviews. Whereas somebody that I knew that was part of one of the big wealthy families, one of the influential families down there. She had the right last name. I'm not going to say what that last name is, but anybody in Spear County would know. She graduated college with a elementary education degree and immediately had 5 or 6 offers, including high schools, which she was not even qualified to teach. So that's why we left Tennessee. Because we were both working tourism jobs. We were both working seasonal tourism jobs because we couldn't find anything else. And the pay was great when you were in the summer. And we're getting lots of hours and even overtime. It was great. And then come January, we're like, how do we pay our mortgage? How do we pay our car payment? And after 3 Januaries of that, we decided enough was enough. And so we moved back home, which for me is Ohio. My husband's from Indiana, but he's like just across the state line from Ohio. So we moved back home, and he had a teaching job almost immediately, and he has had a full-time teaching job ever since. The school he teaches for right now is kind of cool. I'm really proud of him, actually. I love bragging on my husband. He teaches for a charter school in the Dayton area. That is an alternative. It's for alternative learners is what it's called. All of his students have either ADHD, some are somewhere on the autism spectrum, or have other behavioral disorders like oppositional defiance disorder, things like that. So he's got the kids that the school systems gave up on. And sorry, I'm moving my phone cord. There we go. He's got all the kids that the school systems gave up on. And it's an adventure every day. And sometimes they have days where they get nothing done. He has to teach with a very different style than what he's used to. But it has made him grow as a teacher and as a future parent. And he loves it. He loves his kids. You know, there are days. There are days where he's like, oh my God, it was terrible today. He was telling me about yesterday. They were trying to do a test in 8th grade. And they had like 2 meltdowns and a fist fight. And and with Summit, you know, with a normal high school, there would have been suspensions and expulsions and principal's office visits, and it would have been, you know, everything would have been blamed on him. And this school, they're like, whatever, they're Summit kids. It's how they are. You know, what can we do to get them through this? And they've got quiet rooms. They've got, you know, places that the kids can go if they need a timeout. They know they can go out in the hallway anytime they need to, if they just need to get away from a situation. They've got, you know, different options for kids who don't do well in a testing environment in a classroom. They can go take a test in the library or with another teacher where it's quieter, where there's no other students. So they're really, really great about working with the kids' needs, which I think is really cool. I'm going to get that snagged on that. There we go. I said I like to brag on my husband because I think the work that he does is really amazing. I think he's massively underappreciated. I think teaching is not what he originally thought it was going to be. He's very disenchanted with teaching in general. Especially, he came from a public school. He was teaching at a public school, public high school, and it was the worst teaching experience he's ever had. He's taught at 3 different public high schools now, 2 in Indiana and 1 in Florida. And this most recent one was just a terrible experience. The district was very awful to their teachers. There was huge debate, you know, huge disagreements with the teaching union. And it was to the point that there was a day that all the teachers in the entire district wore black to school as a way of showing their opposition to something the school board did. If I remember correctly, it was that they froze all of the teachers' pay. So anybody who was scheduled to get a pay raise, whether it was an annual pay raise or like teachers who had gotten their master's degree and were supposed to get a pay raise from that, they froze all those pay raises. And then the school board members gave themselves a car allowance. And then decided to give all of the high school students laptops. And all the teachers are like, do you realize the kind of kids that we have, they're just going to break them. This is not, you know, it was a very, very low income school district. And these are kids who can't afford to replace laptops. And they're like, this is a terrible idea, but nobody asked the teachers, apparently. They didn't care. So that was not a good experience for him. So I'm glad that he's at a school that he really loves now. He really loves his administration. He loves his kids. Agreed. Shenandoah said the school board does not need a car allowance. But unfortunately, that is how public schools operate nowadays. How can we screw over the teachers? It's very frustrating. Oh, I think I just stitched way too far. I did. I wasn't counting. I wasn't paying attention. I was ranting. I do that sometimes. That was supposed to be 9 stitches, and that's like a whole lot more than 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, I'm way past where I was supposed to be. Back up. I'm just stitching along. I'm gonna unstitch these. But yeah, like I said, he's really disenfranchised with being a teacher because of how states and school districts, and I'm gonna have to actually frog this out. Raw. I hate frogging. I've managed to make a knot. Cool. But it basically seems like everybody in the entire country is determined to screw teachers over. And it's always funny when people are surprised to find out how little money my husband makes. He literally makes less than a manager at McDonald's. That's how badly teachers are paid in the United States. We have a friend who is hopefully going to be getting promoted to assistant manager, like shift manager at Raising Cane's. He's a good friend of mine. And we were talking about how much money he makes and how much money he'd make as a shift manager. I'm like, well, after all the deductions that the state requires, you'll be bringing home more than Nick does. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. So the biggest BS, since we're on ranting about teachers, the biggest BS that the state of Ohio does is the state teacher retirement system, which is the state funded, it's what will pay for his retirement eventually. It's what his pension will come out of. But here's the biggest BS. How much do you contribute to your retirement every paycheck? Out of your normal pay that is, probably somewhat fair if you work a decent job for a decent company. Most people contribute around like 8% of their pay to their retirement. The state absolutely requires, it is forced deducted out of his pay, 14%. 14%. My brother makes 6 figures a year working IT contracting for the government. He doesn't even contribute that much of his pay to his retirement. 14%. It's like $800 a month that we are required to contribute to the state retirement fund. And if he does not retire from teaching, we don't get that money. He has to teach in the state of Ohio for 10 years before we see a penny of that back. So that's how much they screw teachers over. His take-home pay is embarrassing. I mean, it's just, it makes me so angry. It makes me so angry. We should not be just barely above the poverty line with him being a teacher. When he was teaching in Indiana and did not have a 14% retirement contribution, and his school system paid a significantly larger percentage of his health care, we were actually quite comfortable financially. I was able to I didn't have to work. And now I'm having to work. I'm having to work basically as many hours as I can to make up that difference, because the state of Ohio has screwed teachers so badly. That kind of goes back to the conversation we were having earlier about that I want to live. We've talked about living in other countries. There are a lot of countries that treat their teachers a heck of a lot better than the U.S. does. What would make us want to stay here, The amount of money that we have to pay for healthcare, and how much our teachers get screwed over, and how it's continuing to get worse. Things coming from the federal Department of Education. He could rant for days about No Child Left Behind. And what a completely worthless program it is, and how it has completely changed how teachers can teach. It has taken away their ability to teach. It's taken away their ability to be adaptive. It's taken away their ability to work with students with special needs. Because now everything is teach to the test. And standardized testing doesn't work. Sorry. It just doesn't. And it's especially harmful to extracurriculars and non-core subjects. Like I said, he teaches science. And the requirements for science are so strict, where they have to have a class of this, and they have to have a class of that, and they have to have a class of this, that you aren't able to offer the variety of classes that school districts used to. Like, my husband took oceanography in high school. You can't offer that anymore, because it would be, you know, you have to have you have to have biology, and you have to have a lab-based physical science. And so oceanography would be an elective. What student is going to take an elective science? There's not going to be enough willing to do that to justify running that class. And so it's killing the variety that schools can offer. So they don't get to expand their students' horizons in the way that they used to. There's no imagination left in teaching. The government has taken it away. Administrations now are there to enforce rather than to support. So sad. So that's just something that we've considered. By the way, my career, my thing that I do, I mentioned in one of my other videos that I work in an amusement park. I work in a seasonal amusement park. So right now I am off from my primary job. In the summers I do work full-time hours. I work at Coney Island in Cincinnati, which is a small park, an old park. People forget it exists. It's overshadowed by its younger brother, Kings Island. But we do still exist. It's 1886. Hi, CJ. Thanks for tuning in. And yeah, Ohio is actually one of the worst states to teach in. It's kind of a known thing in the teaching community about how terrible it is to teach in Ohio. Our governor, Kasich, is not kind to teachers at all. There have been a lot of, I'm going to try to not get political here, but there has been a lot of political uproar in the state of Ohio over policies that Kasich has made regarding teachers. And it's incredibly unfortunate that continuously teachers and public service in general, because this happens to other public service, it happens to police, it happens to firefighters, it happens to any government worker. I went too far again. Where, you know, somebody who doesn't work in that field has so much control over things and can make life such hell from something that they don't understand. And it's really unfortunate. But when we used to live in Florida, and that's another state that is kind of known to treat their teachers terribly, which is why they have such a teacher shortage in Florida. Because in Florida, there's been a lot of debate over an issue where they want to tie teachers' pay to standardized test scores. And that's so wrong, I can't even start to describe it. But they basically want to punish teachers who don't meet certain thresholds in standardized test scores. And I think that's just absolutely ridiculous, because standardized test scores are so flawed to start with. And they take they don't take any consideration into students who have special needs. And I think we should be increasing students' accessibility to education, not putting more roadblocks like standardized tests in the way. Standardized tests are like the worst thing that ever happened to education. If you ask any teacher, they'll tell you that standardized tests are the worst things that have ever happened to education. And the people who make the policies and the tests are not teachers. And so they think they work. And there has never been an alternative found for gauging student learning. And so until that alternative is found, standardized tests will continue to be a problem. So there's my political thing. That's my political rant for the day. But that comes from being a teacher's wife. And then my ex was a police officer, so another gloriously underpaid profession. Gloriously underpaid and underappreciated. I feel like police do get a little bit more appreciation. There's movements for appreciating teachers, but oh, somebody's home. I think that's my sister. So I'm going to go ahead and sign off of here, just because people are coming in, and it's going to be noisy in here, because my husband will be home soon too. So, and I've been streaming for like 2 hours, which is usually about what I stream. So thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for letting me rant about teacher's pay and dogs and things like that. And I will see you guys next week. We'll do some more live stitching. And I got to figure out how to turn it off here. Here we go. Oh, there we go. Bye, guys.